All right, we are live. I'm starting a little early today just to see, what folks are on. I've got a few topics teed up here. We'll wait and we'll start with the contest. So for the folks who may watch this at a later date, we'll start with the contest, the new one, and then we'll get into some topics to talk about on this fun Saturday night. Lots of football going on still. Um, My wife's team is playing right now, playing Nebraska, Purdue, and they were winning last I checked, but I hope they don't give it away. Hey, DC, how's it going, man? Glad to see you. Hope Brendan's on, the winner of the contest. Want to let him know that I'll be shipping that out on Monday. Had a lot of depositions this week, so I had a hard time getting into down to the post office. So, but I'm taking Monday and Tuesday off. Yeah, have some mental health days here after those last couple of days there, and that was rough days. But yeah, I got some topics teed up. I mean, there's the hobby's always got stuff going on. It's kind of fun, if you don't take it so seriously, then you have a lot of fun. When you get wrapped up into all this stuff, it gets, people get a little too much going on with it. But yeah, oh, okay, you're an attorney. Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I'm more of an expert. I'm a scientist, so I have to give testimony in cases that sometimes are ugly, and you know, it's tough. It's not fun, especially when I don't mean to. And again, I've been to law school, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a practicing lawyer. Been to law school, but when the lawyers don't understand science, it's not a fun conversation to talk to non-scientists about science sometimes. Um, and when they argue facts with you, and you're like, that's literally the silliest thing I've ever heard. But you gotta stay calm. You gotta um, yeah. This one was pretty contentious, so it was rough. But yeah, again, we'll start with the contest. I had a lot of fun. Again, hope Brendan's on the winner, and just so I can let him know that I'll give him the tracking number on Monday. Again, I'm probably going to take Monday, Tuesday off. I just bought an arcade one up. I don't know if anyone's bought any of those before. I'm a huge Joust fan, and they finally came out with a Joust cabinet, and so I just bought it, and I'm really excited. So it's going to be where you see the Justice League poster. I'm going to have it sitting right there in the future. So that's gonna be a Joust arcade cabinet pretty soon, right there. That's what I'm going to try to do over my couple days off. It's also got Clax, which is one of my second favorite game in the arcade was Clax. So, which is like a puzzle game. Not a very well known game, but it's actually included with the Joust software. I think it's all from Midway, so it's a Midway kind of like a bunch of Midway games. But the cabinet itself is a Joust cabinet, so pretty excited, pretty stoked about that. Yeah, yeah. So we'll go ahead and start here in a couple minutes with the contest. We'll go through some of the topics I got teed up. Yeah, the Tron one up is so cool. The controls on that are just crazy too. You got the cool joystick, the little circular control as well. Tron was such a cool game, like, because even as a kid, like all those different games put into one was different. I mean, usually games were just the game. You played one game. You didn't have like six or I figure it was like four or six different games. They were pretty different, from the light cycle to the spider one and all the different kind of Tron games. Those were kind of a cool thing. And yeah, arcade games, I don't it's funny, like, it used to be arcade then to home, and now it's like the arcade side of it's just, because I go to Dave and Buster's with my kids. That's like one of our favorite places to go, and you hardly see any really cool arcade games anymore. They're all like kind of based on. We kind of the topic I want to talk about is like, nostalgia. Almost all the arcade games are like nostalgia games. They haven't done anything really, really cool or new. I've seen in a long time. So, yeah. All right, guys, we're getting ready to start here with the contest. Just, again, I'll announce it a few times throughout the night. So the winner, Brendan, from the picked the Aaron Judge rookie card. So I'm going to send that to him Monday. Again, I had a lot of depositions this week. 14 hours of depositions. That's just a lot. That's a lot of time in a chair talking. And that really drained me pretty hard. So I didn't get a chance to get out to the post office, but I'll get that on Monday. And so what I have the second prize, which I think is still a good prize, 83 tops, Michigan. Remember, this is the Michigan test pack. Will be the next giveaway. So, and when this goes away, we'll get into something else. I'll probably do something vintage next time. I've got some doubles, so I'll do a vintage double. So this one should be one for folks, that are live tonight, might be able to get on the first try. The last one, it was hard. I didn't want it to be just super, super easy to start out with. But this one's going to be probably a little easier because it's going to be something I've talked about or at least shown on my channel in a lot of different ways. So the contest this time is going to be, I open a lot of product on my channel. Now, a lot of it is older, like 90s stuff, because that's, I collect a lot of 90s inserts and Griffey and that kind of stuff. So there's two cards in particular that I've opened on my channel that I have shown off, talked about. They're kind of the two, I think, best cards I've ever opened live on my channel. And so, they've been featured, talked about, in just a lot of different ways. So the contest is for this 83 tops pack, you have to name both cards that my two biggest hits that I've showcased in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to be very particular. You have to describe the cards perfectly. You can't not include all the details of what the card is, because that's important, because they're very unique cards. So you need to talk about what the cards are, full name, of the type of card it is. So it's the two cards I've featured on my channel the most. And again, the rules are you get one guess per live stream. We've been trying to do 2 live streams a week. So you get 2 chances a week, 83 tops wax pack. And I'll give more clues. So if you can't get it, so the clue again this week is it's 2 cards from my channel that I've featured a lot. And so the clue I'm going to give you guys, it's one of them is a baseball card and one of them is a football card. So again, it's the 2 cards that you see that I've opened on my channel from a pack or from a box. And one's a football card and one is a baseball card. So, you can, browse through the videos and hopefully someone gets it tonight, because it'd be great. Again, you get one shot. So, and please don't just rapid fire a lot of guesses. Just make it a fun contest for folks. Just because I think the last one worked really well. People had some fun with it. And again, this is just for fun. I want people to think that, hey, kind of look at some of my channel videos and subscribe and, and kind of find out some of my content. This is sort of what I'm doing this for. I also want to share and give back to the community. I spent 2 years on YouTube without really interacting too much because I had some anxiety about being on camera and that kind of stuff. So I'm getting out of that shell a little bit, and now I'm really trying to interact a little bit more. So that's the contest. I'll repeat it again, a little bit through. Again, we've been doing live streams about an hour. So, and that's to me good for my channel, my content. So I'm going to get into like some of the first topics. And the first one is, I'm going to just put up here is, Because again, right now it seems like we're being, I call drama led on YouTube, content creators, but like, does the drama even matter to the health of the hobby? Like, I've been in the hobby so long with all the PSA issues that's been out there and everything that's just going on in the hobby, and to me, this just seems normal. Uh, no, it was not a '92 Van Poppel. That's pretty funny. Um, but no, sorry, it is not. So but you have to guess both. So if you're going to put a guess in, you have to put both in. So just so you know, and I'm not going to count that one against you. Um, but yeah, I've been in the hobby so long that it's just I've gone through so many dramas that they just don't really matter anymore to me. I don't really think of them as like an issue with the hobby so much as I look at individuals and how they behave and how they react to certain things. Like, anyone can make a mistake, you know, um, a grader, a company, but how they deal with them is kind of what I look at nowadays. I used to get really mad, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe PSA graded a fake card. Oh my god, I can't believe Beckett graded a fake card. Oh my god, I can't believe SGC graded a fake autograph." And then I realized, like, well, that's going to happen, and it's just what they do about it, right? In the fake autograph side, SGC quit grading autographs. On the fake card side of it, PSA did some things. I don't want to say they did everything that they could have. And then Beckett's kind of, they've always hid their hand in the sand. They all have their own different ways of dealing with issues. SGC's always been direct to the point. PSA will deny it and then do something in the background to maybe fix it. And Beckett just won't ever acknowledge they have problems for the most part, or they'll just, act like nothing ever happened. Um, and I don't know enough about these other grading companies to know how they're going to react to things. I think the thing with the other grading companies right now, they don't have money behind them. And what I mean is, like, PSA has a nest tag. If you go onto their, I've talked about this in a video of mine. If you go onto their, their reserves, they actually have a money reserve to pay out for mistakes. I don't know of any other company that actually has that, where they actually talk about we've got $2 million in reserve in case we make a mistake. That's an actual money back guarantee. It's kind of like the Seinfeld. You say you have a money back guarantee, but if you don't have money set aside for the money back guarantee, it's not real. You know, you're not going to use insurance for this. This is not going to be something that's going to be covered, by some other means other than you setting money aside. So I don't believe companies when they say, like, well, we got a money back guarantee, just trust me. Well, I looked at SGC's terms and they are not favorable for a consumer if they wanted to get something back from SGC. It's just not. And they might come through, but they might come through on the $200 you know um um card, but they're not going to come through on a $200,000 card if they made a really big mistake. Oh, I love it. I love it when people come in and let's see. There we go. Interesting. But yeah, like drama, yeah, Bobby, like he's right. Drama is always going to be in the hobby, you know, but I don't think it matters to the health. Meaning this is that PSA, when I was around in '86 and started collecting PSA cards, the dealers were split. I mean, from my recall, is like down the middle. Half hated PSA and half loved it. And from then on, it's always been a dramatic show with PSA and grading since that started. So I've never lived in the hobby since around '97 time period when I started grading cards without issues and hobby drama, you know. But again, it's how you deal with it. I've known dealers who've made horrible mistakes, and some of them owned up to them, and I still trust them. I still buy cards from them. Some of them did not, and so I don't buy cards from them anymore. I choose to use my money to kind of make the ultimate choice on and or kind of vote. If I don't buy cards from you because I don't trust you anymore, that's sort of how I decide. Like, like how am I going to really tell this person, I don't want to do business with them anymore. And I think we see that sometimes. And hey, and for the folks who on the drama side who just report it and kind of feed off of it, that's fine. That's just content. That's like, that's every hobby has that. You go to Pokemon, toys, They all have videos like that. I just started, I'm a big, the only toys I really collect are Robotech toys from the 90s. There's a series I loved as a kid. So I go on to some toy videos and it's like all this drama about Robotech toys. I'm like, what? I'm like, so everything has drama. It's like you can't avoid it. Star Wars, oh my God, go to some Star Wars toy videos, and it's just like it's insane, the drama there. So that part doesn't bother me. It's just and as a collector, I just, you know, worry about getting the next thing, or worry about like, what am I going to do to acquire the next card I really want, or what am I going to target, or and right now I'm selling some stuff. And I went, I don't know if a lot of folks on the channel, a channel I really like, I just really picked up on lately, was Bench Clear Media. And the reason why I like those guys is that they do both positive and negative stories, which is good, kind of like what I try to do. But they brought a dealer on from Vegas, the Awesome Card Shop in Vegas. I think his name is Marcel. But he had some great insights, and he was talking about like he personally is selling everything like right now. He thinks everything's going to drop 20% more. And then he said also, but in the store, he's buying stuff that he thinks eventually will go back up. So it's like this two for one. He's like, I'm selling everything personally because it's going to drop more. However, I am buying at 60 to 65% cards at the shop, things like that he thinks are going to go back up at some point. And so that is an interesting take. And I will say, in 2018, when before everything kind of blew up, that's how everything really was. Hot stuff. The 5 players who were hot at that time were 80 to 100% comp when you went to sell them. Everything else was 60, 65%. And that's just how the hobby worked monetarily. If you wanted to sell something to a dealer, or even to move it quick, they call it the quick flip side, you were getting 60 to 70%. If you wanted to hold it, sell it on eBay, maybe get full value, but then you're going to lose that 15%, 10 to 15% from eBay. So you were never getting 100% unless you went to a card show. But my experience at card shows in 2018 and before was you had to be at or below eBay, mostly below eBay. So you were, like that full 100% was very difficult to ever get, unless it was a really hot player, like, some guy who was just tearing it up right now. And then that, because that card keeps going up, so you could get the last comp. But yeah, that was just tough. So I think the health of the hobby right now isn't bad. It's not, because some things are going down. There's some buying opportunities, but the drama doesn't really affect it. I think what affects the hobby right now is the fact that everything's overprinted, wax is stagnant, breaks aren't filling up anymore, and people are having to sell cards at a loss to some extent, and that's just spiraling the folks that were quick flippers or people who just weren't really in the hobby just to kind of because they enjoyed it. You're going to see some of those folks leave. That's fine. That's always a sign of the hobby correcting itself. Um, the wax side of it is a big deal. And that's what I wanted to say is like that piece of it is broke. Wax prices, the content in wax, all that is to me broken right now. I can't really afford to buy wax for the most part for most things I used to collect. And to me, they haven't fixed that model. And I don't know if that's what Fanatics is going to fix, but that kind of leads me to kind of like what I was going to talk about next is, you know, what does Fanatics need to do to help the hobby? What are we going to do? Like, what do we want them to do? My thing is twofold. I'll talk about the second one next, but the two things I would say is you're going to have to fix the distribution method of new cars. First, like how people can acquire new cards is going to have to be fixed. Because right now, that part is horribly broken. If anything ever has any hope of being popular or have value cards, it's like a feeding frenzy between scalpers and the distributors, and everything is just, it's like people just lose their mind. The last product that people lost their mind on was like Spider-Man Metal. And, when retail came out, people were trying to get $60 a retail box or whatever, a blaster. I mean, just it's just silly, it's like, but then you go out there today and just stuff is just sitting on shelves like crazy. I mean, so much Upper Deck hockey. They've printed Upper Deck hockey into the ground. Like, I guarantee there's probably like 100,000 young guns per player right now. I mean, they've printed Upper Deck hockey into the ground. Like, because for a while there, it wasn't printed very much because people didn't, hockey was a little more niche sport. Sports cards blew up, young guns blew up with them. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now we're printing Upper Deck hockey into the millions again. And because you got EPAC, you got to remember, like, you got EPAC plus you got all the live stuff, and now young guns are a dime a dozen. Like, you can, some of them are worth something, but I think in the future those are going to be really. There's going to be a big line of distinction, like pre 2018 young guns and post 2018 young guns in terms of, those kind of cards. But that's just an example. But yeah, newer cards are so overprinted, for the most part. Like Topps Chrome, yeah, Topps Chrome is still probably being printed. I mean, honestly, it's just and you're seeing it in all things. Like, I know a lot of folks here don't follow like Magic, or I'm not a Pokemon guy, but I know like those guys are talking about it too. Like, Pokemon's being printed a ton. Magic is like sitting on shelves, clogging up the aisle. It's all kind of sitting there. And at some point, it's going to really affect stores. It's going to, like, you can't have dead inventory. I mean, you're looking for 80% sell through or higher on most of your inventory. If you're sitting at 50% sell through and you got dead inventory, it's just it's this like anchor for most stores. They're going to have to do something with that inventory, which is blowing it out at a loss or no profit. And again, you're just churning through money with no profit, and that takes time and effort for that store. And I think that's what you're going to see. And so they're going to give some feedback, but what's Fanatics going to do to fix that? Where are they going to really, focus on? Because to fix the wax issue, they're going to have to make it somewhat, you know, either affordable or have the value in the wax for the price people are paying. I don't think they can do either one. I don't think I honestly, that I hate to be that doom and gloom, but I think they can't do either one. I don't think they bought and paid that money for those brands to sell at a cheaper price. I think they can upcharge more. I think their idea, and if you really read through the lines from all the stuff that Luber said, and maybe they're going to backtrack on it, is they're going to try to bring in like, you know, um, popular people, like athletes and stars, and do these crossover things. They kept talking about how cards and shoes, because again, Luber, like have all these crossover things, and trying to make events out of these, and that's why, the backyard breaks thing is such a big deal, because Panini, and you heard Jeff and Sports Card Investor talk. And I did. If you go on some of the videos, I did leave a Jeff kind of a message in one of his videos. Like, it feels like he's getting talking points from Fanatics. He talks about he went to Fanatics, talked to their CEO or whatever, talked to them, and I feel like he just has their talking points. And one of their talking points is, we want event breakers. We want it to be a circus. We want it to be fun, and people just, because the point is this: if you can't make the cards cool or cooler or more worth more, then the experience is worth something, right? So if you pay to get into a break and you've got, LeBron James in the break with you, well, how much is that worth? Well, now that price point for Lux or whatever crappy set they're opening is worth it now, because you're opening it with a star, right? And even though you don't get any extra hits or money or anything out of it, but you had an experience, right? Now, I use LeBron James as kind of a red herring, because I don't think they're going to get people like that, but they're going to try to do those kind of things, collaborations, and just say like, well, okay, here's the Steve Aoki set, and you get to open, in the first 500 people can open a box with Steve Aoki or whatever, be in a break with him, whatever. They're going to try to do stuff like that, make the experience more money. And this isn't like going on vacation, guys. You know, if I spend $10,000 on a vacation for the experience of my kids, that means something because it's a lifetime memory. I'm not sure we're making lifetime memories out of opening a box of cards with Steve Aoki or some other, musician or athlete or something. I'm not sure that's going to be worth like $10,000 as a memory when you get skunked in that break. I'm just, you know, but yeah, Bobby, I don't know like how they're going. I mean, just because they've got good website, and I love their website for hats. Um, I just don't know. Like, I just trying to figure out what they're going to try to do because look, if you look at all the parallels they're pumping out, Maximus, like you're right. If they went back to the original like Bowman, let's say classic 2008, 2009 time period where it was like 4 or 5 parallels, like everyone loved it when it was like gold, blue, regular, red, or you had, those 4 main ones. When they got to like 27, no one cared anymore. Will they go back to that, to your point, and make it more expensive, because there's less content, so they have to make it more expensive? I don't know. I just don't know how they're going to make it work. I think they're going to try to do it. They're going to try to come sideways at it. They're not going to fix the box price point. They're not going to fix the content. They're going to try to like do something else to say, look, now it's worth more money because it's something else, right? You get entered in a contest. You get free hats. I don't know. Like, what are they going to do? I just I don't get it. I don't know how they're going to really fix this model without, because if if being in working in companies, okay, if your price point's too high and you can't sell through, you either need to add more add more value or lower price. I don't think they're going to do either one at the beginning. They may be forced to. They might be forced to make changes like that, but I don't think it's going to be at the beginning. I think they're going to try to do something, some crazy strategy that's not going to work, and just like do something kind of silly. Um, to me, it's going to be silly. Not like I'm old, so like it may work for folks like that are just getting into the hobby. And they're like, man, this is cooler than some old dude open a box on a channel, and it'd be boring. Which that's why the backyard breaks guys are popular. I mean, taking your shirt off, doing whatever, run around the room. That's fine. I mean, that's what you like. I think it's kind of silly. I'm not gonna the whole thing with him getting 45% of all hits or whatever it is. Whatever. I don't buy into those kind of big conspiracies. I just feel like, you know, as I think the more thing with backyard breaks is that they're going to be the preferred like mainstream breaker for these companies because they feel like they're entertaining. Now, could other people get in this hobby and be more entertaining than those guys? I think so. I kind of think they're kind of silly, not in a good way. Like I wouldn't mind if it was like, you know, if people like, I think Titan Breaks, she does a great job, and I find her very entertaining. I like that she dresses up, like she does a lot of stuff to make her stuff fun. You can do that. That's a lot of fun too. Dress up as a character of a product you're opening. She does a great, I think she does a good job. She's more entertaining than I think the backyard break guys are. And you saw earlier, I think last year, they were cutting her off a product. I thought that was just crazy. Like, here's someone doing exactly what you want, and now you won't even give them product to open. I thought that was really interesting that they were cutting her off. Hey, what's going on, man? Art chemist. It's been good. It's been an interesting day. Like I said, I was talking to DC, who's a lawyer. I've been going through. I had 14 hours of depositions the last couple of days. Just rough, rough time, and just because it's very tiring. I'm a scientist, so you get very technical, and it's just like have to pay attention to every single thing you're talking about, and it's just like it's a very tiring process. So I'm going to take Monday, Tuesday off. I was talking about I bought a arcade 1-up joust cabinet. I'm going to build that these next couple of days, and I'm going to organize my cards a little bit. One of the things I'm really focused on is like some 90s inserts. I don't have them organized at all. I don't even know what I own. For example, I have almost all of the Linchpin set. But I don't know what I'm missing. I have started my Crusade green set. I don't know what I'm missing. I have like 25 green Crusades, but I haven't cataloged them. Just it's crazy. I don't know. Like, hey Brandon, hey, there's the winner. I was hoping you'd come on, man. I just want to let you know that your card is coming out on Monday. I'm sorry, I was on again, the deposition side just killed me, and today I had some family stuff to do. So it's coming out Monday. I'm taking Monday and Tuesday off, so I will get to that, get it out to you. I'll get you the tracking number. But Brendan won, picked the Aaron Judge card, so we're giving away the 83 Tops wax pack. So for people who haven't or just on, the question for the contest today, the new contest for the 83 wax pack is, I've opened 2 cards on my channel that have been featured in a lot of videos and in different ways. One is a football card, one is a baseball card. You have to name the 2 cards, and you have to be very specific. So you can't just generically say it was this player or from this set. You have to say the name and the set of both cards, and then you can win. And it'll be the 83 Tops wax pack. And when that goes away, I'll probably be doing a vintage card. A Superman 199. I probably don't. And the reason why I don't is because Superman is definitely one character I did not collect a lot of. I was such a Batman fan. I was a Batman and Spider-Man, still am. Batman and Spider-Man. So when I go into comic books on DC side of it, Batman, and then was really into the Justice League International, which is the poster behind me. So Blue Beetle. I was kind of weird. I guess I was a weird kid when I was younger. So Superman wasn't as interesting to me. I didn't get into the John Byrne reboot either. So I just don't have a lot of Superman stuff. I have a lot more Batman stuff. So, it's just, but I do feel like I missed out on a lot, by not doing that. Just like I didn't collect Fantastic Four, and look at like every third Fantastic Four issue just blew up. Yeah, scientist. I'm a food scientist. I'm a food scientist, regulatory law specialist. Again, I've been to law school. I have a master's jurisprudence in food regulatory law, and I have a bachelor's in food science. Been working. I got most of my master's in food chemistry as well. So I've been doing a lot of food safety, product development, that kind of stuff. But most of the stuff I do when I'm talking about things like this legally are things around food safety. Um, you know, and so that's why I say it's difficult because generally it's not stuff that's fun to talk about. Like when you're talking about food safety. So, yeah. Oh, you're a butcher. That's awesome. I've actually one of my friends I went to college with. She's a butcher. She ran the piggery in Ithaca, New York. She opened it and I think she sold it, but she was a butcher, which is just hilarious because when I went to college with her, 2 things was one, she was a vegan and then she became a butcher. And secondly, she was the bass player in a death metal band that I was really fond of. So, yeah, and she still plays music. So she's in some cool bands. So, but yeah, so I've known one other butcher in my life. But yeah, yeah. So being a scientist is interesting. My kids do not think I'm a scientist. It's so funny. They're like, sometimes they go to work with me and they're like, you like, what are you doing in a lab? Like, I'm a scientist. We have labs and stuff. They're like, oh, we didn't think you were that kind of scientist. Like, what kind of scientist do you think I am? Like, just we sit around and I don't know. Like, what do you think we do? So it's funny. My daughter, she's older now. I had her like shadow some of our other scientists, and it really made her energized. She was super pumped. She's like, oh, "This is cool! Like, I want to work in a lab. Those guys do some cool stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, science can be cool." My littlest one, she's like, "I want to be a teacher. I don't want to be a scientist." But my oldest, she was like, "Yeah, these are like, that's really awesome." But yeah, like so um yeah, so back on Fanatics again. I just don't know what they're gonna do. I'm just curious. But the other topic I was gonna talk about, that I wanted to talk about is, creativity. Because that's the thing that I'm really not happy with. Hey, Dwayne, nice to have you here. Excited. Hey, man, I was going to ask you. I saw there was a Griffey card on. I was trying to think what it was, but I thought it was one that you were going to that you might want to bid on. So I might text you tonight or something. But I saw a Griffey card. I didn't know if you're going to bid on it. I didn't want to bid on it if you're going to bid on it. So I know it was one of the ones that you were looking at. So I saw it on eBay. So yeah, like what killed creativity in the hobby? And I have, um, some ideas on it. Again, I came out of the '90s, and I honestly, when I tracked it, so I was looking at some material to do video on, and I was tracking it, and I was looking at like on Baseball Cardpedia, and if you go to the bottom of Baseball Cardpedia, you go to a set, and it shows you all the related sets by year. And I started just looking at Skybox Metal, Metal Universe, and all of a sudden you go from all these cool inserts to just autos and game used. So you went from like die cuts and just PMGs and all these cool inserts to autographs, game used, over and over and over. It's just, I look at Upper Deck Legends, like there's multiple versions of that, and all of a sudden it becomes, instead of having, all these cool autographs, it was like, well, we got game jersey cards and all, it became just jerseys and autographs. And if you look at it, that took over the hobby around, around 99, 2000. And after that, the creativity of the hobby just dropped tremendously. And honestly, the only thing that really happened after that that drove some creativity was prospect cards and baseball and patch autos, right? But to me, they're getting so boring. How many patch autos can you have of your favorite player before it looks like the same card with just a different background? And that's, I mean, I was, when I was collecting Mike Trout, that's what I was focused on, was autographs. But then it just got so boring. I was just like, it's the same. I mean, there's just very little creativity in those cards. And I feel like that is one big piece that destroyed creativity in the hobby, was the focus on game use and autos. But the other thing that really, I think, and this is probably going to be a lot more controversial, but if you think about it, and I'll talk about them both in comic books and cards, is nostalgia. These archive sets, these going back to the same same set designs over and over and over. And, it's like such an easy thing for these guys to do, is just like take a 52 tops design and keep pumping out a set with that design every year, every other year. I mean, they just did it again this year. Another 52 tops chrome set just came out again. They're going to keep doing that over and over. And in the comic book side, it's the comic book I always think of is like Amazing Spider-Man 300. I believe someone said there's like 200 tribute covers that's based off that comic book, meaning that there's like over 200 different comic books that have been made using that cover as they call it a cover swipe, or as the basis for that cover. So it's like, can you imagine like having 300, 200 different comic books all with the same kind of cover, just slightly different, or different topics, or a different character doing the same pose? I mean, it gets ridiculous. But to me, that's nostalgia. That's like, companies, if they don't have a good idea, we'll just go back to something we used to do, or something that we knew people liked a while back, and keep redoing it. And I look at PMGs right now. It's a big topic in Marvel, PMGs, but they came out in sports cards first. And, I understand why they look nice. Like, they're refractory, they're shiny. But, after the 7th or 8th PMG you have, does the next one get more special, more special and more? It's a dilution, right? And if you think about the '90s, they didn't do PMGs a whole lot. It was like a couple years, and that was it. Now I know some of those companies went bankrupt, but it did give those sets a little more special because you didn't have, you know, like with Griffey, you've got refractors for a lot of years, like 20 years of refractors almost for Griffey, right? You got from like 1993 until he retired, in like 2010. So that's like 17 years of refractors for Griffey. And so refractor number 15 isn't very special, you know. So if you had a PMG every year for a card, PMG number 12 for Spider-Man or LeBron James isn't going to be that special. And it's a dilution, right? But these companies, I feel like when they don't have any ideas, they just go back to some other set that used to be cool and just copy it. And, like Heritage Baseball, I mean, it started out as just being sort of a throwback set. Now it feels like just a set, and no one cares about it anymore, And yeah, Bobby, I agree. Like, creativity is lacking 100% right now, and also I don't, and you got to understand too, like with the licenses they have now down, I think they're forced to develop so many sets a year. They don't have that many ideas. So they're going to have to go back to some of these, like, like I call um, like tried and true, recipes for success. Like, okay, I got to have 30 sets this year. So 15 of them are going to be like, retro, and the rest of them are going to be just based on designs we always do. And maybe we have 2 or 3 new things in there, but, they're not having to recreate a lot of new stuff every year. Um, you know, and I do think you're right, Dwayne. I do think the technology that used to exist doesn't exist anymore. I would love it if some printing specialist really looked at it, because look at Linchpins. I believe Linchpins were laser cut. So you remember the Linchpins? I don't think I have one right here, but they got the little pins cut into the card. There's probably like 40 so pins cut into the card. So think about that. It's a card with all these little laser cuts in it, right? Now, I can't imagine that's easy or cheap to do today, but I'm not even sure if printers can do that. If you look at the die cuts that existed back in those days, or the double-sided refractors, can we do that today? I mean, I would actually like to know, what technology still or doesn't exist anymore. Can we make a Dufex card anymore? Can you make some of the artist proofs that used to exist from Pinnacle? That stuff looked a lot different than what we see today. And if you look at some of the even on the PMG side, they don't look quite the same. So it's like I'm wondering like what technology is kind of like lost because it costs money. Even on the die cut side, you don't see die cuts like we used to. The finest gold embosser. I haven't seen. If you think about it, the finest gold emboss were in one set. So if you think like, okay, we're going to mine the nostalgia factor 1,000%. Topps has reissued some different sets of finest, like the finest throwbacks. I'm going to be very interested when they get to that 97 set. Are they going to do gold finest embossed refractors like they used to? When they get to that set, are they going to really have the die cuts and are they going to have that embossed refractor? Or are they going to mail it in and do like a flat finish refractor with a little bit like of a trimmed corner or something and say that's a die cut? I'm going to be interested in seeing if they can do it because I'm not sure that technology exists anymore. Because if it did, why wouldn't they mine that technology for all it's worth? Because these nostalgia products make some money. Like that Topps Chrome tribute set this year for baseball was a big hit. I mean, the Griffey refractor still sells for over $100. You know, and the nostalgia is like people put sets together that stuff. So if they made like cut aboves again or Linchpins again, you know, all that stuff would be hugely popular, but they're not doing it. And I'm just wondering if it's just too expensive, the technology doesn't exist. But that was a lot of fun and creativity. You got to imagine like around 2000 or sorry, around 97 to 2006, there was a lot of great inserts and things being made. And then Skybox went under, Fleer went under. I did that timeline thing when I was talking about, we need different eras and decades for how to categorize sports cards. But if you read that timeline, when those companies went out of business and it became just about autographs and game used, the creativity in the hobby just took a huge nosedive. Huge nosedive. I remember in 2010 how just terrible the refractors looked. I would encourage anyone to go, open or go buy or just look at a 2010 Bowman Chrome refractor and how ugly that card looks as a refractor. And then you look at something like a 97, 98 finest refractor, and you're like, these cards are like incredibly beautiful. Like why do they look like this? Like how did the refractor go from being that vibrant and shiny to something that you saw in 2010 that just was incredibly ugly? Like I know, I showed it in my other video, but this is a 97 finest refractor. It's very deep, it's very shiny, and then it's got the back that's also refractor. I'm trying to get it in the camera, but it's got double-sided refractor in 97, and you had like a very deep, very shiny card. You go to 2010 Bowman and Topps 2010 Topps Chrome, some of the ugliest looking refractors you've ever seen. And obviously they did something to make the cards cheaper, right? And they've never gone back. Okay, Maximus, that was some good guesses. That was very good. not it, but good guesses. Yeah, Bobby, I think cards always have like this popularity just because they're physical objects that people are used to collecting. I know there's a lot of arguments that the new generation won't collect cards because they didn't grow up, or it's like they don't have functionality. They don't have any ability to interact with. Yeah, I can't. So take it for what's worth. I can't comment if you get one of them right or wrong, because you know I think that would just give too much information for right now. But I would say that that was a really good guess. So, but yeah, like you know, I think that that idea of interaction or some sort of connectivity with the card, I think it'll exist. But again, it could be a lot less than it used to be. I mean, no one really knows if like Fanatics in this play to get into this space and trying to utilize more tools like like more like the one thing I hear a lot is like they're going to advertise. Fanatics is going to spend money advertising. That's going to make the hobby grow again. Man, like look, I talked a little earlier. Like one of my things I do is I develop new products. Well, new products require advertising, right? And so I talk to a lot of marketers, and we talk about like how to advertise, what attributes to talk about, because I have to like give them like spec sheets. Like here's the attributes to look at. Here's the things that make this unique. And I will say this is like most companies have taken this in my space, where in the food side of it is you need to spend a lot of money at point of purchase and maybe advertising on TV and other places isn't where you want to spend your money because they don't see a return on the investment. By doing this, advertising on print, that's dead. I mean, internet, a lot of people do digital, but digital advertising is very difficult to do because you're paying for ads. Again, the return on those ads sometimes is very low. Click-through rates are low, interactions low. So again, when we look at advertising, what is a metric that's going to make Fanatics grow the hobby through advertising? And are they going to throw a lot of money into it, right? Are we going to say like, so even for a small company that doesn't have a lot of advertising dollars. $20 million is a bare bones number to advertise across multiple platforms on a single product line extension if you want to get it out there. $20 million. Let's just say that. So are they going to spend $200 million advertising this product? Quarter of a billion dollars, to advertise sports cards when the market's kind of declining and maybe wax isn't moving as fast as it was. That's the thing is like, I mentioned earlier with Fanatics, what are they really going to do? Are they going to advertise? Are they going to, set up shops at all NBA and Major League Baseball? Are they going to, how are they going to really manage this? Because I just think that when the market was just over, blown and people going nuts, you could just rationalize anything and say, look, of course they're going to advertise $250 million. Of course they're going to open up shops in every stadium. Of course they're going to do all this because they're going to make all this money by doing that. And is that really the case now? And if that's not the case, then what's their backup plan? What's plan two? Okay, plan one we're going to scrap because we can't afford. We don't see the ROI on that advertising money. So what are we going to do instead? That's the part that I thought was going to be interesting. Yeah, well, I will say this, Brendan, like, Topps Chrome has some cards in it worth hitting, right? But I do feel like, that's what you're going to see. Yeah, lids, the cross branding makes sense. I mean, look, we're going to have 52 Topps Mickey Mantle baseball hats, right? We're going to have like this kind of like crossover, like t-shirts, hats, which makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you make a 52 Topps Mickey Mantle baseball hat? Well, that would be kind of cool. Like, that kind of stuff makes sense, right? But that's not a sports card. And that's just like a cross branding ability. And that's going to make it money. But is that going to really grow the brand? Is that going to really grow the hobby? And the one thing I would say is like the piece I'm worried about the most is, do they care about the hobby? Because the thing that came out of the what was it, summit, the summit that just had was because Jeff talked about it on Sports Card Investor. He talked about, well, the dealers were nervous because they don't know if they're going to have their deal with Fanatics, or who are they going to get the product from, and what's the deal, and what's the program going to look like, what's going to make you qualified on this stuff, right? And so the dealers are very nervous about what's going to happen with sports cards, because again, they're sitting on a lot of inventory that's kind of dead right now, and a lot of products aren't great. Now, with football this year, there's been dead years with football before. I mean, I want to say like 2013. Like, wasn't 2013 football really dead? Like, wasn't it like Geno Smith or something like that? I mean, you can say Geno's cool now, but I mean, that ship sailed. Like, no one's buying Geno Smith cards. There's been years where the football rookie crop, because it's all based on quarterbacks now, was pretty awful. And 2020, is doing really well now, but we know, give it time, and some of those guys are going to, burn out. I mean, look at Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin, 2012. 2012 was the hottest, for 2 or 3 years as could be. And then right now, who cares about 2012? And that's sort of like the cautionary tale that a lot of people don't want to talk about is football is not a great thing to hold, for 4 or 5 years. It's literally a 3 or 4 year flip because injuries, players just burn out. I mean, it just, you could look at the NFL today, right? And there's like 3 or 4 quarterbacks you could say, are playing today that you could say they're worth owning cards and holding. Everyone else, who knows? Joe Burrow, those guys. I mean, Herbert. Those. You just go through the list. If you're holding lots of money in those cards, I'm sure you're a little nervous right now. And everybody's going to be sitting there going like, if these guys don't pan out, is it going to be like the Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, 2006, year again, where that really, I don't know if people remember 2006 destroyed the hobby for a little bit too, just like 2012 did. It took tons of money out of the hobby and put it into. Oh, there you go. So Maximus hit it. I know I said one guess, but he got the first one. I'm going to give it to him. I think he did some good work and investigative work. I'm going to give it to him. I know, I'm going to say, he was definitely looking at the channel and trying to find it. So I'm going to give him the pack. So here's my email address, and we'll do another giveaway. We'll probably do another live on Tuesday. And I'll do a vintage card. So, but he definitely worked hard on this one. I know he did 2 guesses, but he got the first one right. But there you go, man. Those are the 2. And the easiest way to find those 2 would have been to go to one of my videos where I do my intro, which is a different intro. They're highlighted in the intro. But yeah, those were my 2 biggest hits I think of, because they were very shocking. Like if my channel was like I opened up 45 boxes of 95 finest and I hit one Griffey, I'd be like, okay, well, I opened 45. I opened one box and hit a Griffey, or I hit the Jeter refractor. It's off center, but I hit it. And then the Mahomes was literally one cello pack or whatever, the 3 pack where you get 3 packs. And in the entire video, I talk about how stupid it was to open it at the time because it was $1,000 raw card. But like the packs were going for a couple hundred, for like 150, 200 bucks. Might as well just sell the pack. And I was kind of like, might as well just, it's smarter just to grade the pack, yeah, 99. Yeah. I mean, and Team Couch was crazy. Yeah. Like I remember Couch. It goes on and on, like the years where the quarterback crops were amazing. Everyone's going to make a ton of money. And then, it's like Keely Smith, I remember Keely Smith. I don't think that guy ever even played a game as a starter. I can't remember him ever playing. But I even remember like 99, where you had like Donovan McNabb, and I'm trying to think of the guy from the Vikings. Gosh, I'm really bad with people's names right now. But in 99, you had like Donovan. Yeah, 99 was crazy. Yeah, and Donovan McNabb. I think it was 99 as well. But like you had years, because in 98 you actually had Peyton Manning. So you had actually a really all time. But then you had in 2000 you had Brady, and then 2001 you had Breeze. In 2005 you had 2004 you have Eli and Roethlisberger. In 2005 you got Aaron Rodgers. But then 2006, what, the Matt Ryan? 2007, I'm struggling here a little bit after 2007, 2008, 2009. I'm like, God, where are those guys at? Yeah, and the thing about baseball, Culpepper, yeah, Culpepper. The thing about baseball right now, man, look at all the upsets. I think baseball is very interesting right now to watch. I actually love baseball and the playoffs. I'm a Pittsburgh Pirate fan. I got my Mariners hat on because the Pirates will never make the playoffs ever again. I've given up, so to speak, on my Pirates. I just don't have any hope. So it's kind of sad. But the 2 years we made the playoffs were amazing, and we'll never get there again with the management we have. But for the Mariners, they were out forever too, and the playoffs are just great, to watch it. And I don't even know, I didn't pay attention. Who won between Houston and Seattle? That game was forever. It was like, it was on TV. Then I went to take my kids somewhere. 2 hours later, it's still on. I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I don't even know who actually won that game because I got watching football. Yeah, I do agree. Technology is stagnant. I do feel like in the hobby, the technology is definitely, we haven't grown. I mean, people will show off cards and they're like, well, look at Color Blast cards. Look at Downtowns. And you know, wow, 1-0 18. That is insane. But it's cool. It is cool. I mean, it is like, crazy TV, I'm sure, to watch that game. I listened to it in the car and I watched a little bit of it, but I had to take my kids to corn muses tonight, to get scared. It's Halloween. But yeah, like it yeah, technology is crazy. Like in terms of like what's gonna really, I mean, that's another question I have. Like I kind of talk about how, nostalgia is kind of crazy, but I would still love again some of those older sets to come back and because we haven't seen them, right? We haven't seen embossed refractors. We haven't seen the real cut above linchpins. We haven't seen those cards for forever. They have never been really reprinted, like you would think of in other, like comic books or other ways, But like I said earlier, I don't know if they can actually do it. And that's just kind of sad too that we've lost some of those technologies. Dufex, have we lost that technology? Is it gone? Can we actually make those cards again? I don't know, but it would be cool if we could. But I don't think we're going to have that level of creativity again in a long time because exclusive deals also killed creativity as well, right? If you don't have to compete with each other hard, you know, every, and I know a lot of people want things to be simple. Well, baseball cards are all from Tops. Football cards are all from Panini. Hockey's all from Upper Deck. So I don't have to think about different sports and different. But everyone knows that exquisite cards from Upper Deck were pretty amazing, right? And no one complained when you had Upper Deck making exquisite football. No one complained when you had Ultimate Collection baseball cards because they looked really good and really nice. So that makes a lot of sense. Um, that competition did create some amazing products that no one cares about today, in terms of like, like do we really want creativity? Do we want simplicity? I don't know. I do think some people would really love it to go back to how it used to be. Um, yeah, I think that's one thing about. I mean, they were really promoting Luber as being like a collector, like and I know, like he showed off his collection, and I look at his collection, going like, you're like Peyton Manning, and I get it, but I didn't feel like he collected like a normal person would collect, you know, because I'm sure Dwayne, you'll say this is like you talk to a Griffey collector, and they've got a 2,000 count box of just Griffey cards that aren't worth more than $2 or $3 a piece, but they're collectors, so they have all of them, right? I look at some of these guys like Luber and Jeff, and if the like Jeff said on his channel once, and I know he did it unintentionally, but he said one time, well, this card only costs $10,000. Like, this card isn't that expensive. I was just like, are you kidding me? That a 5-figure card isn't expensive. Like, and I feel like some of those guys got into that mode of so used to hearing like cards 10,000, 20,000, $100,000 card, that the collectors like that are out there putting together their poor Griffey, Jeter, Jordan cards that are like collector's choice and $2 or $3 inserts, like, and then you're telling those guys like, oh well, this card's only $10,000. I mean, it's not a big card. I think when he made that trade with to get that ugly ass 33 Ruth that he traded for, I mean, again, I'm not trying to like tell Jeff what to collect, but I mean, look, if you're going to trade for, he traded a giant Josh Allen card, which I'm sure he regrets doing. But if you're going to trade a card like to get a Babe Ruth card, get one with some visual eye appeal. That thing was so far off center, and I think it was an OC card. I'm just like that. He had an opportunity. Like, okay, if you can't afford a 4 or a 5, get a 2 that's centered, and then talk about to the other people like, "Look, eye appeal matters. I got a 2 because I wanted one that looked really nice." And he got just the ugliest off-center Ruth card I've ever seen, and traded a really, a card that's probably worth more money today, maybe even double because of Josh Allen. But it was a weird trade. I watched that going like, wow, like he's really going to do that. And it was so weird to see what these guys collect though. It's like, but in that trade, I remember he traded cards. Oh, this card's not worth a lot. And it's like $8,000 or $10,000 card. Like, yeah, I know that one's not worth a whole lot. That's just, to me, that does turn me off a little bit, because I felt like that was just hit how he really thinks about cards. Like, I only care if a card costs $10,000, right? And that's not how collectors think, right? That's not how everyone, like 90% of the hobby collects. I mean, that's the 1%, 2%ers in the hobby. And even though I have cards that could be that expensive, majority of them I got 5-10 years ago, like, and they've gone up in value, but I didn't spend that much money. The only card I spent more than 4 figures on was my Clemente rookie card. And I'm going to tell you, like, I paid a heavy price to buy that card. I bought it for, I want to say, that PSA 7 around $17,000, and I sold about $30,000 of cards to get that card and some other cards at the National. But in that deal was the 101 17 PMG Spider-Man Miles Morales. I'll tell you that. That was one of the cards in there. Some Dynasty 101 Mike Trout cards. 2009 Bowman Chrome Trout Refractor Auto was in that mess of cards. So, yeah, I have my Clemente rookie, but I sold a lot of cards that probably would be worth as much or more than that card today if I'd have kept them. But, I wanted the Clemente. I'm a Clemente collector. I wanted to have the rookie card. So that's what collectors do, right? We make kind of bad trades too. I'm making fun of Jeff for buying off center Ruth, but I sold a bunch of cards that today people are probably saying like, that was dumb. Like, you really dumb. Why'd you get rid of your 101 PMG Spider-Man card, and why'd you sell a Bowman Chrome Refractor Trout Auto? I only got $30,000 for everything. I'm like, yeah, that I did, and that's just what you do. I mean, those cards weren't quite worth what they are today, but still, I knew those were really good cards, right? And to get good cards, you have to sell good cards. But I'm just saying, like, that's how much I had to hurt to be able to get a 5-figure card. I had to really dig into my soul a little bit to get those cards. Jeff and those guys aren't paying the price. It's not like they're sitting there going like, all right, I'm going to have to like, eat ramen noodles for a week, or I'm going to have to trade off like 20 of my biggest cards I've ever bought to get this one card. Um, they're just buying and selling, and if it doesn't work, they don't care. They have the money to do it, which is fine. Bench Clear Media had a video about like, does it take talent to have a good collection or just a lot of money? I know I'd rather go with the money angle to build a collection than being smart. Now, building a collection on a budget does take talent. It takes patience. It takes hustle. So those folks I have a lot of respect for. The big whales who come in and just buy everything, I don't have a lot of. It's not that I don't respect them. The hobby needs them, but I don't think that took talent to just have a lot of money, you know. But the people who build their collections, over time, on a budget, being very selective. That's why I talk about New York Yanks fans collection. He did that, and he was very consistent. And I've said over and over, I really respect his collection because he was consistent. He knew what he was looking for, and he was on point a lot of times. And where I had the Bowman Crown Bowman Chrome Trout auto, and I didn't keep it, and I think he never would have made that deal I made. But that's just how we're different, and that's why I really respect him, and that's why I had him on my channel, because I really wanted to just say, hey man, I really, really like how you put your collection together. You have probably one of the best curated collections that was on a budget. I know, like I know he's not the kind of guy that, had millions of dollars to go start a collection. He just did it over time. And I've done the same thing. I mean, I've been in it since 86. So, I can't really say like I bought my 61 Clemente PSA 8 or 9. I actually have an 8.5 now for $300 back in 98, or 8.5 didn't exist back then, but just so to speak, now it's worth $1,600. Like, what I paid the most. I paid the top price back in 98 or 99 for that card. That, I wasn't smart. I just wanted the card, right? And it went up. That's what a lot of people do. You build a collection, it goes up, and you look smart in retrospect. But a lot of people, like with Jordan rookies, right? I sold a PSA 7 Jordan rookie for $1,200 back in probably 2012, 2010. The guy who bought it, he's probably, if he kept it, that's like, that guy looks like a genius, right? But when you flip cards, you are going to lose money. I think the one thing that I will say is about flipping cards for people is, if you're going to do it, just never go back and hold yourself. Like, don't go back and go and say like, here's everything you flipped 5 years ago. What would it be worth today? Don't ever do that. Like, just say like, I made money at the time, I took a profit or a loss, and I moved on. Because I said, when I went back and looked at my trade to get my my Clemente rookie card, yeah, it looks really, really, really bad. Like, I could, I would have been better off just holding all those cards and to now. But how could you predict that? No one could have predicted what happened. But it just shows you that don't go back and look. I just recommend that. You can like analyze trades and, like, did I do, but if you made money at the time you did it, that's good enough. You don't need to like go back and try to look at future value and say, well, you traded a, whatever card, like I sold a Wander Franco orange refractor auto. I pulled it out of a pack, first pack of a box, sold it the same day for $5,000. And never looked back, because that pack cost $2, and that, I think, well, probably $4.99. But $5 pack made $5,000. Like, okay, maybe the card is worth, I don't know. I don't even know what's worth today. But I'm just saying, like, that day I sold it, it was worth $5,000. And you can't really go back and go and say like, well, I shouldn't have done that. Well, I 1,000x my money. So that's what you should do, right? Don't hold yourself, like, don't be like, hey, you're so, you should have held that card forever. Well, Wander Franco could have done anything other than be a good player. And even today, I don't think he's really done what everyone thought he was going to do. I mean, if Wander Franco was having Jordan Alvarez's career, would we all be able to happier if we were holding Wander cards, right? Jordan Alvarez seems like he's the real deal. Wander seems like he's going to be a good player, but maybe he's going to grow into it. But that's what happens with rookies. Like, they may not do what you want them to do. I mean, Mike Trout was such an exception. I mean, Mike Trout didn't have a great first year. And I agree with you, Dwayne. Mike Trout seems like a good deal right now, because he had a good year. Look at his career this year. I mean, he got hurt, came back, played well. Shohei Ohtani is kind of shadowing him a little bit. If Trout ever gets to a team that makes the playoff, it'll help him. But baseball is a really weird sport. It's probably the only sport I would say where you can be Ernie Banks, never win a World Series, and be beloved. No one goes around and says like, well, Ernie Banks' card shouldn't be worth much because he didn't win a world championship. Baseball is the one sport where if you don't win it all, I think you're okay. You don't have to win it all in baseball, because honestly, it's so damn hard, you know, to win it all. And you could be like Felix Hernandez. I was watching the Mariners game. They said 15 years, never made a playoff in 15 years. Now, is that Felix Hernandez's fault that his team never was that good? He's one pitcher. Mike Trout's one player on the team. He can't pitch, even though Ohtani can do both. Together, they still haven't made it, So it's just like baseball is different. Football, I think quarterbacks are held, but man, yeah. Yeah, J-Rod and Kellenick, yeah. I sold I had 3. This is really crazy. So I listened to an MLB podcast where they talked about Kellenick and how great he was going to be from the Mets. So I went out and bought, because he was on the Mets, and before they traded him, because I'm in the New York area, and I bought 3 Bowman Chrome Autos, and got them graded, and sold 2 of them when he was super, super hot. Kept 1 because I thought, well, I'll keep 1, in case he turns into Trout. And I'm like, I should have sold all 3 back when they were hot. But yeah, that's a good example. And J-Rod looks great, and you just never know, because every player comes up and, and I've said this to a lot of people, because there was, when the advanced stats like WAR started really coming out, there was this thing like, a lot of people, like a lot of statisticians, because again, I'm a scientist, they were trying to say like, well, you could just straight line math a player in his career and a team, and just say, like, this is how they should hit every year. I'm like, you can't do that, because humans have things like emotions, injuries, whatever that's going to prevent you from doing what you can do every day. And just because a player has this hit tool that says they should hit 30 home runs and steal 25 bases or whatever, these tools, doesn't mean they're going to do it. And you can't just go like, well, mathematically, this is what this guy should do. And I think we're realizing now, like, look at how many, I think the Billy Bean story is a great story. He was drafted over Darryl Strawberry. And, and very quickly you could tell, I think same team, that Darryl Strawberry was like 10 times the player than Billy Bean, because Darryl Strawberry had the confidence and ability to perform at the highest stage, and Billy Bean didn't. And it just shows, like, player development and is, and how the player eventually, gets to where they're going to go. It's up to the player, but you can't predict how they're going to, the mental side of it, the emotional side of it. So yeah, that's why picking players is really tough, because if you go off those tools, which a lot of people read the stats, they read the books, they read the tools, they make their selections, and then they go like, I'm surprised this guy didn't make it. He had like a 90 plus hit tool. This guy had, he was throwing 98. For me, because I quit prospecting in pirate cards, because, I got some winners, Garrett Cole was a good winner. I had to, but Jamison Tanyan, mediocre. Josh Bell, pretty good. Starling Marte, okay. But, I had Stetson Ali. I had, tons of ones that never panned out. But like Stetson Ali had like a 98 mile an hour fastball in like high school or something. And 2 years into it, he turned into a hitter because he couldn't throw a strike. And then, I think he's out of baseball now. But it's like, I bought the red refractor auto of Stetson Ali the year it came out. I remember I paid like $400 or $500 for it. And, that was back in, I think Stetson Ali was 2011. That's when red refractors were going for like $400 to $500 for the guys. Now, what, a red refractor of any pseudo prospects like $1,000, $2,000 minimum now. But I did that. I got in there. I had the Tayon red refractor auto. I had a bunch of blues of Garrett Cole, a bunch of Josh Bell, just on and on. All these guys. Glass now. And I haven't, I try to stay away from prospects right now. I mean, O'Neal Cruz, suckered me back in. I got a couple of O'Neal Cruz rookies, but I'm not going to spend $5,000 on an O'Neal Cruz rookie like I would have maybe, or $1,000 maybe, on an O'Neal Cruz rookie. I just, I'll get a few of his rookie cards, and just because I'm a Pirate fan, and then I'll have a few, and we'll see how it goes. But it's like people just go all in, man, on these rookies. It's like it's either you buy one or you buy 100, of that guy, and it is very funny, like, yeah, actually, Maximus, that's perfect, exactly, because adversity is tough. I mean, it's like anything else. I remember like trying to tell my daughter about college. I said, the difference between college and high school to me was that in high school you study and you're, maybe a little bit and you do well on a test. In college, you study 5 days a week, take the test, and get a C. Right? And then what are you going to do? You're going to just give up and be like, well, I'm just dumb. I can't figure this out. Or are you going to like go to office hours? You're going to get help. You're going to go talk to the professor. You're going to like get in a study group. Like, what are you going to do? And that was like for me, like I had to figure it out. It wasn't like someone's going to hold my hand and be like, well, college is tough. Maybe you're just not cut out for it. Yeah, no one cares. You better figure it out on your own. And I was trying to tell my daughter about this, like, hey, look, when you get to college, those professors aren't going to just hold your hand and remind you to turn your work in and all this other stuff. You're going to have to figure a way to get there. And if you need to join a study group, go to office hours, do all this other stuff, you're going to have to do it. But that's the difference, and I think that's the thing with adversity. When you get to like professional baseball, like you're paid a lot of money to do what you do. Just like I think that I love watching the NFL preseason show on HBO, Hard Knocks, because that really shows you. I mean, I know they really do. They glitz it up a little bit, but when they cut people, like how it's such a process. Like, hey, you're gone. It's like a 5-minute conversation, right? Someone's dreams just got crushed. 5 minutes. You go and talk to your coach for like 5 minutes and you're done. But that's reality, because those guys are getting paid a lot of money to perform. And it's like, it's not, they don't baby those guys. And in baseball, you look at it like, I think in baseball, it's really interesting because they give those guys, the big prospects, some chances, like Jesus Montero. Remember that guy? And then after a couple years, they're gone. They don't just let them hang around forever. And it's very interesting. Hey, man, congratulations, Maximus. That's awesome, man. 13 days ago. Are you getting any sleep? Because I know I didn't for a while. That was always is it your first, or I have 2 daughters. So I've got a 12 and a 15-year-old. So we're getting up in that going out and with friends and going to dances time period, and I'm not enjoying that at all. That's as a father, that's the worst time for me. But people say like, enjoy it. I love going to the games. They both play sports, soccer and lacrosse, field hockey, and lacrosse is going to happen next. I love it. It's fun. Yeah. First 1 a.m. shift. Yeah. The one thing that I found is like, getting up and helping was always a good thing from the wife perspective. So, being the first one up out of bed sometimes, just gives you a little bit of like, calmness. And, with my wife, it was very important to not let her always be the first one to get up. But it's great, like it's enjoy it, man. Cause The stages are so different, and it's great. Like right now, I'm loving it because my kids are active. They're playing sports. They're involved in different clubs, and it's fun to see them grow. And but then they don't need you as much, and then they kind of like you get embarrass them a little bit, which is what you should do. I embarrass my kids all the time. Um, but yeah, it's like you go through those stages, and there is a point to when they don't really hug you as much, or they're kind of too big for some of the stuff, and then you kind of miss it, but you do get to enjoy like them becoming adults and growing up and seeing them do things and things that make you really proud. That's the fun part. Because when they get older, it's like you hope that they just become like somebody that you would want to hang out with. And that's sort of how I've taken it. It's like, if I want to hang out with my kids because I like my kids, then that means like something went right. If my kids are a bunch of jerks, maybe I did something really wrong. And maybe I should look at myself a little bit as well, because yeah. But right now it's working well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. The stages are just great because you'll recognize it too when they go through those different stages, because you'll be like, the first time they can talk back to you and say no. it's, it's a huge new stage in that whole process. Well, man, congrats, man. And thanks for playing on the contest. And, I knew it was going to be tonight because I wasn't trying to hide who those cards were, because, I don't open a lot of product where I hit big stuff. I mean, the 90s are tough. When you open 90s products, man, those odds are hard, and you don't get a lot of big hits. The 98, so the card I pulled before I went to the National, the 98 Frank Thomas, graded an 8, but I pulled it out of a pack. And to me, that was cool. I mean, like, it was fun to pull a card, of a player I really like and get it graded. And, so like, it's right here. I got an 8 on this card, but it was cool to pull it on the channel and get it graded. And I think that is something that you know um is fun. It's not a big card. It's not like a $10,000 sports card investor card. um but as a collector of Frank Thomas, and I don't, if hopefully you guys get on my Instagram, and I'm getting ready to do another video on my Frank Thomas cards. I've been picking up a lot of Frank Thomas inserts lately, and um let's see, I got a few here. Yeah, here's like one of the big ones, and this is like a very, you know, this is the big one, established. So the established Frank Thomas. These are numbered out of 100. You see it kind of right here, but probably one of the nicest looking sets ever made. Now you see it's pro holdered, so I talk about a little bit about the pro card. So that's a gamble I took. I think it's real, but but I've been picking up Frank Thomas cards because I think they're undervalued. I'm not here to pump it up Frank Thomas. Frank Thomas has a lot of pretty hardcore collectors, so I don't think I need to go and pump and dump Frank Thomas. You know, but yeah, pulling a card and grading it is just beautiful. I might grade that 95 finest refractor Jeter. It's off center, but if it's 9 OC, who cares? I pulled it on my channel. With grading prices going down so much right now, you're going to see a lot of stuff graded that I think it's good, because I know it's so funny, man. Like, people talking about the price of grading going down being a bad thing. And I understand what they're talking about, because it means the hobby's slowing down and they're having to reduce pricing. Like we talked about with wax, that could be something that happens there too. But they're reducing grading pricing because they're not getting the volume that they need to sustain the infrastructure they built. So the hobby's slowing down. At the same time, PSA is opening up multiple offices, New Jersey, hiring all these people. So they need the volume to keep those people busy. So of course prices are going down. It makes sense, right? But the thing that's great for me as a hobbyist is I collect sets. And I'm a dumb set collector. I talked about the PSA set registry in one of my videos recently. And I started updating it a little bit because I hadn't updated that set registry in like 3 years on PSA. And I started looking at my sets I had. I'm like, man, I should be getting, the bug hit me where I'm like, I may want to go back and finish some of my 63 top set. I may want to start finishing some of my, pirate team sets. And those are commons. A lot of those cards are commons. And you can't pay $35 a common, $25 a common. You need to pay under $10 for commons because they're not worth anything, and I mean, they're worth something, right? They're worth like $20 maybe in some cases as eights, but you can't pay $18 for a card to get graded to be worth 20. It's just not worth it. You're going to keep it raw. But when the prices were that $7 or $10 for these bulk commons, people graded them because they need them for sets. And you could get, buy a card for $1 at a card show, get it graded for $7 and, have $10 into it and get $25 and make some money on, because you're not going to get 100% eights. It's like you're going to have some losses in there. And it was a reasonable thing for people to do, to grade some cards for commons, for people for set registries, make a little bit of money, $10 or $15 a card sometimes. It was a deal. Like 61 Scoops, good example. Like that is something that was out there. And it got destroyed. Like that whole thing blew up. Like you can't, like that was gone, like for the last couple of years. And I know Nate from PSA talked about he wanted to get bulk grading back again. I haven't seen the CSG registry. That I want to look at it because I do have a lot of Marvel cards and DC Batman cards and DC cards. I would love to have a registry, man, and I'm really looking forward to. And I have a little bit of time left to do it. Is getting something autographed by Todd McFarlane. So I don't know if everyone knows on the channel, like Todd McFarlane is doing a signing through CSG or CGC, same company, and they're doing cards now. So you can send him a card, he'll sign it, and they'll slab it for you. So I'm probably going to do that. But yeah, I mean, if CSG does a Marvel card registry that's competitive and is like PSAs, it'll do well. And it'll drive interest in sets. It'll drive interest in the cards because that's how PSA really grew. I think it's so funny because I think collectors from the last 2 years don't care about the registry because they're doing things like flipping these big cards because it's like, I don't know, like the player or, the driving force was like kind of like, the prestige of that card versus the registry. But PSA grew through the registry, and if you think about it, it's about volume, right? PSA wanted you grading every card that ever existed. And, if you're only grading LeBron James cards or Michael Jordan cards, that's like 1/10 of what's been out there. So they want you to grade everything. And the way to grade everything is to make everyone build sets. That was a great drug. And I talk about registry as a drug. It's like people would literally build these collections that they would have done and never spend the amount of money unless they were competing to be number one. And that's a big drug. And can you imagine, how much more interest is going to be in these Marvel cards and the F1 cards and all these other cards if the CSG registry becomes important or a big deal? And if that does happen, you could see some more interest in some of those cards because, again, what you see now with just like with sports cards, Marvel cards, F1, eventually only 2 or 3 players become popular. Everything else becomes a common or just like, a minor star. But with the registry, it makes all those cards important again because you got to have them all to have the registry, right? And if CSG's registry becomes popular with Marvel guys, I think they will make them a lot more relevant, if they do that well. Yeah, I do. The yellow slabs. Yep. I get them. I have never had one done myself. I've always bought them already done. There's a dealer friend of mine who does exclusively that. CGC graded comic books autographed by like he was smart. Like he was doing guys who were getting ready to not be around as much or up in age, and so he had a lot of like Frank Miller. Frank, for anyone who doesn't know, Frank Miller is I don't want to say he's on his way out, but he's older and he doesn't look as healthy, and so like he's spending time getting Frank Miller to autograph things. And I think, it's smart because in a few years, Frank Miller may not be signing things as much. So getting stuff from him was kind of fun because, I got the Dark Knight Returns with Klaus and Frank's autograph on it, which is getting hard to find. So like people who do that are smart and they make money. I don't love every book being autographed. And a good example I'll give you this is I talk about comic books where I do a lot of variant comic books. I don't like them autographed because it's just an additional cost to the book. I just care about the cover. And so if you autograph the cover and you grade it, you're putting another $50 onto the cost of the comic book. When I just care about the cover, if I can get both for a reasonable price, I'll do it. But I don't want all my Peach Momoko comic books autographed by her, or I don't want all my, Jennifer Zahn books autographed by Jennifer Zahn. I just want the cover because I like the art. But that's just me. There's a lot of people who collect differently, and it's fine. You can do whatever you want, but autographed comic books to me have a place when it's where it's like you want something that's like I almost would rather have like like if it's a Wonder Woman comic book cover signed by Gal Gadot or Harley Quinn signed by Margot, like that would be something I would actually like a little bit better because just having like the inker on the book sign it. And I don't know if you've seen those crazy I want to think what issue it was, but they had like Jim Lee, it's not Jim Lee, Stan Lee sign one comic book like 50 times. So it's like one comic book with like Stan Lee's autograph on it, like multiple times. And they were trying to get this huge amount of money for it. I'm like, that just looks dumb. It just doesn't look good. I would have no interest in that book, but people kind of go a little bit nuts on the autograph side of it, in my opinion, because again, if I like the cover, I want the cover. If I want an autograph, I might get the autograph on a book that's not important. Like if I had I have one Stanley autograph. I sure as heck wouldn't have it on my Spider-Man 1. I wouldn't, I'd want it on a book that just to have his autograph, but I don't want it on my really, really rare stuff. Behind me is my Alex Schoenberg books. And again, I actually have an Alex Schoenberg autograph, but it's on his art book that he autographed as part of the book. I don't think I'd want his autograph on a book like this. These are like works of art. I don't know if I'd want it, marred with, like a Sharpie, but that's just me. I mean, everyone has their own way of collecting. So, all right, guys, I think I'm going to head off. It's 12:30. I know it's late for everyone. For me, I got to get up and do stuff with the kids tomorrow. So I really appreciate everyone here. Maximus, send me an email. I'll get you your wax pack sent out on a Monday. I appreciate everyone. I really enjoy talking to you guys, and hopefully I'll get back on Tuesday. We'll do it again. I'll have another prize for folks tuning in, be a vintage card of some sort, and we'll do it again. And I'll see you guys, and I appreciate every one of you. Bye.